Fan is starting. There we go. Well, thank you for joining us for this Senate meeting recap of the March 13th meeting. I'm VP Communications John Westbrook, along with VP of Activities Kyle Brown, to give you the exciting recap about this meeting. And this meeting was exciting. It happened on March 13th, a Friday, no less.
Friday the 13th, and as we things do tend to happen on those days.
As we know, this is true. So, starting off on the agenda on roll call, there were a few members not here. Kathy Rao was excused as she was doing something on the East Campus. Corey Keith was not here. Jose Alvarez was not here. Christian Galindo was not here. Thomas Ledesma was not here. And Asia Reed was not in attendance. Those are the only members of the Student Senate who are not in attendance at today's meeting. Next, during the adoption of the agenda, the orders were suspended to go straight to finance. And Kyle, you had some things on that to add in there.
Yeah, thank you, John. The reason that we suspended the orders of the day today, I made the motion myself. I wanted to move finance below minutes, or in proper terms, under minutes. The reasons for this was I felt that there was a lot of pressing issues with finance that we wanted to take care of, especially being large items of finance. When you look down the list, which I'm pretty sure Vice President Westbrook will go over later, down the list we have a lot of things that are really important that we need to get handled, not only for AS itself, but for clubs and for the students, especially like the ag programs. The reason we want to get that out of the way, we knew that there may be some unexpected lengthy discussions during this meeting. So finances are our main option, or our main item to get done first, because we want to make sure the students are well taken care of before conversations take over the meeting.
Yes, and I'll run down the finance for you right now. First of all, there was a budget revision for the spring 2015 that VP Mendez, our VP of Finance, went all the way through. That is something to go back and watch during the live meeting, which is available on the ASMJC Productions YouTube page. That was discussed and passed. The next thing was $1,300 to Turning Technologies for one response voting equipment. This was something that was brought up by Senator Christian Galindo, and that was passed.
Let me speak on that real quick, John. The Turning Technologies for one response voting equipment, the reason this came up at General Assembly, our last assembly that ASMJC went to down in Los Angeles, where a bunch of the community colleges get together and vote on legislation that have been brought by all the schools and that get implemented at the state level and then hopefully again at the local level. The reason we brought this up is last time they used a one-click system for all the delegates. So on the screen you can see how the delegates voted, who won by majority, if there needs to be a recount. So this really brings a new system into play here at the local level that we've seen at the state level it makes things quicker. There's no deception in the voting processes, and it's really a great item to have, and I'm really glad that we got it approved today.
Yes, and that was the first thing approved in finance. The next thing was $6,000 to young farmers for the annual Science Livestock Show Team. This is something to go back in the live meeting too. This meeting was actually worth watching.
Yes.
They had around 20 students here with two instructors that they presented this item, and it was passed unanimously. That is for their show team to go to Porterville to compete in the livestock show team. We'll get to that almost after finance. And then the next thing on the list was $16,000 for the spring 2015 General Assembly on May 1st through 3rd. There was some lengthy discussion on this, but it was passed. Next thing was $5,000 to Enterprise Car Rental for an open purchase order. That was passed. Next was $5,000 to Facilities for a transportation order purchase order. That was also passed. These two items are treated a lot like the Costco purchase order that we have ongoing with them.
Yes, John. The way these items are treated is they're money that we set aside that don't actually go into a fund of any kind. What it basically does is that we're accepting as a body that we're going to put this amount of money to the side just in case that it needs to be used. So when we need to rent a car, we don't have to necessarily approve money again. We've already approved money, set it to the side. At that time, the discretion of the finance will pick out which fund it'll come from. I know during the meeting, 2 different funds got mentioned. So when you guys do watch the meeting, if you haven't already, you'll get to see those items there. And this is kind of it's like a ghost item, but it only comes into need during paperwork processes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Kyle, for that explanation. So the next thing on finances approved was $23,000 for the ASMJC office desktop computers. We have lots of fans in this room right now. We're like rock stars. This is from Dell, and this was passed unanimously. Next thing on the list was $2,000 for locking storage containers for ASMJC video production video equipment. That was my item. I wanted boxes to put my equipment in.
And for future reference.
And for future, it's good for them. Right now, we're using cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
Next thing on the list was $2,500 for the Freedom Forum Scholarship Dinner. That's a club here on campus, which is a politically diverse club, and that was passed unanimously. Next thing on the list was $702 for Spirit Week. Now, this was the item raised by Senator Razzo, and it was his idea to give out Scantrons and donuts for people during finals week to relieve some of the pressure that finals have.
Yes. So Senator Razzo proposed handing out Mr. T's donuts along with coffee. He said the two combined together always made it a very less stressful situation for him when it came to classes, and especially during finals week, we know we're all stressed about everything that's going on. So he wanted to kind of provide that relief to students, give a chance to get their minds going, their bellies full before they have to get in there and tough it out during finals. It's really a great, wonderful opportunity to kind of connect from AS to the student level to show you that, we're not just here in the background. We're here to support you guys through all your educational endeavors.
Yes, and the final thing on the finance docket was $1,500 for Cesar Chavez Day, which is going to take place on April 13th because Cesar Chavez Day is a national holiday. Or a state holiday. One of the two.
It is a state holiday. It may be a national holiday. That wasn't mentioned during our meeting, unfortunately. You'll see during the recap. I believe it's not actually on April 13th. That's just the date it got moved back to because they couldn't do it on the actual state holiday.
Yes.
And they did apologize for that due to paperwork processes, but the event will happen. We will make sure that it is known for all students to attend.
Yes, and now that completes our financial part of the agenda. So now there were two items added onto the agenda under adoption of the agenda directly after finance. And Kyle, can you go through what those two items were?
Yeah, so the two items that we have that were moved under executive, the first item was a formal apology to advisor Leticia Lasota. Over the past couple of days, there was a board meeting of the Board of Trustees, and during that meeting, actions had taken place that most Senate members, or at least myself and a few other members of the body, found to be unnecessary, and we believe that Advisor Leticia Lasota was deserving of an apology for the events that did happen, and to raise the question that not everyone felt the same way as the members of the body that did speak on behalf of that item that did, I feel, offended or offered not the greatest explanation for the reasons behind it. So we want to make sure that some comfort was given to that fact and that we show support in not only our people and on a personal level and in a working fashion. The second item was a explanation of AAR, which is agenda item request denials. Not necessarily denials, but just items that may have been skipped over and not added to a meeting agenda. The reason this was brought up was that members of the body and public felt that not all pressing issues or even issues of an importance matter were brought to the meeting, and they felt that those items were being overlooked either because of status of person or personal privilege. I don't know how to necessarily describe that to you. But we just wanted to see what was going on with that, why those weren't being placed on the agendas, and how we could take proper action in the future.
Yes. Now, after that was discussed, we went on to unfinished business, which was a large one, $25,000 for the laptop program. This is Senator Acosta's project, and there was a little bit of a discussion on that if you want to go back and watch that in the meeting video about certain items to go along with the laptop, but that was passed eventually. And moving on to the consent calendar for March, nothing really changed in the consent calendar, same as always.
Yes.
And then in executive, there is the
two items mentioned earlier, along with the Berry Hill plaque and stipend recommendations.
Yes.
A little bit of a wrecking ball in that area, but we did get past that section, and everything that was presented was approved.
Yes,
including informational.
Including the stipend recommendation.
Yes.
Now, skipping down, the next thing that really ended up on the agenda was the student trustee report, which was given by Andrew Campbell, talking about the Board of Trustees meeting, which was stemming to what the apology was, which was VP Brown was talking about.
Yes.
And at that moment, we lost quorum, and that is where the meeting ended at 3:30 p.m.
Yeah, but fortunately, if you guys haven't seen the video already broadcasted earlier by VP Westberg here, you might want to go back and look at that section. Especially, there was a lot of ideas and concerns mentioned that a lot of the students should take into consideration, and we would love to hear your reactions on those specific points and see where you guys stand. Because our job as associate students is for you guys to stand and be your voice. So I'd like that if you guys do review that section, and you do have the same concerns or would like to elaborate on them, please contact us so we have the chance to bring them up at these meetings.
Yes, and thank you to the people that were commenting and watching the meeting live.
Especially Scott.
Scott, we love you, Scott. I do ask questions if you ask them, if you present them to me, and I will comment back to you. Mm-hmm. So that wraps up this March 13th Senate meeting recap. Kyle, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, John.
I'm John Westberg for ASMJC Productions.
Have a good day.